Hi, Royston.
Hiya. One second.
Can you hear me?
All right.
Hi, Royston, it's Paul. Can you hear me?
Everything I say, I true.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, Patricia, can you hear me? Hello?
You sound low.
Me.
Hello.
Hi, can you all hear me? It's Paul.
Very low.
You sound a bit far away, Paul.
Okay, hang on a minute. Can put the volume up? Hang on. Oh, a bit odd.
Royston,
Yeah.
how do you change your background when you're on?
You have to do it in settings somewhere.
Settings?
Yeah. Let me see. So you see this, the start video?
Yeah.
There's a little up arrow next to it.
Yeah.
One says choose virtual background.
So it just says share content.
Is that all it says?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm not sure where that is right now then, but that's where so I can do that. Can you? I don't know if you can see that.
No. Your face is stationary.
Oh, because I haven't turned my video on. Let me show you my proper face.
The real one. Yay!
There you are. So I've done the San Francisco Bridge as the
but how did
background.
I wanted to arrive there.
Yeah. It's a so you should I'm not sure in this second.
Hi, greetings. I heard the question. Go to your where your camera is.
Yeah.
And go to virtual. It says virtual background.
Yeah.
Where the camera is.
Yeah,
Oh.
where you got your camera and it says stop video and you got an arrow that goes up.
Stop video.
Yeah, you see there's an arrow that goes pointing upwards. Click on that.
It's where it just says share content.
Well, yeah. on the camera. Because you got on your left hand side, you've got your mute, you've got your microphone, then you've got your camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Click on the arrow for the camera. And then you're going to see choose virtual background. You've got FaceTime, HD camera,
I'm not seeing the camera.
It's got settings. At the top of it, it's got settings, and it's got general, video, audio, share screen.
No, on the
background.
screen that you're looking at now, you're on the screen that we're looking at now. We're all seeing the same screen, yeah? On your left-hand side,
Yeah.
yeah, you got your microphone that you can see is jumping up and down. When you
No.
it jumps, did you see?
No.
And it says mute underneath it. There's a microphone that says mute underneath.
No.
You haven't got that?
No.
Move your cursor down to see if it will pop up.
It's at the top of my page.
Oh, it's at the top?
Yeah.
All right, so have a look where your mute is.
Yeah.
Next to that, you should see the camera. You muted yourself. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Take off mute. Just click mute again.
Yeah.
Right. Next to that, you see a camera.
It's just a video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Click on the arrow. You click on the arrow, and then it says choose virtual background.
No such luck.
Have you got video settings? What happens when you click on the arrow?
Hold on. Auntie Jean, it's just me. I can just see. Oh.
Have you got an arrow next to your camera?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't? It's just a camera.
Yeah.
Oh.
All I've got is it's only got mute, stop video, share content, and participants.
But click on the stop video.
So where it says stop video, there should be an arrow next to it, just like there's an arrow next to the mute.
It's only share content next to it. And it's only the host can share in this meeting, okay?
Oh, so you've got an arrow next to your mute, yeah?
No.
You haven't got an arrow next to your mute?
No.
Oh, a thing that points up, like a cursor that points upwards?
No.
Oh. Then sorry, I can't help you.
No problem. I just, because I heard everybody was talking about it, and I quite like that. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then I will bring back the pictures somehow. I will go back to start video, and I should be back with you very shortly.
Okay. All right.
It's all good.
Okay.
But
So
as
Juney,
long as you can see me, okay?
Juney,
Yeah.
Yes.
Juney, what can you do about improving the lighting in front of you, please? So you should be facing light.
I should be facing light. Hold
Yes.
on.
With the camera, with the that's much better.
I have too much light on there.
You got too much light on you?
I would have the lights glare in my eyes.
Okay.
So I'm just going to stay like this.
Right.
Okay.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Paul.
Is that a bit better?
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, thanks.
So iPad, what is your name, please? ZG, what is your name, please? Yeah, iPad, what is your name, please?
P.
P?
Yes, P-E-E.
Okay. Can I change it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Right, ZG, what is your name, please? ZG? Hello, ZG, what is your name, please? Person masquerading as ZG, what is your name, please?
Oh, sorry. Bev Grant.
Pardon?
Bev.
Bev Grant.
Yes.
Can I change it?
No, no, keep it as it is, G. Thank you.
It just helps so that people can see you and address you.
I haven't got a camera.
It doesn't matter.
I haven't got a camera on my laptop, so Z is fine. Z for Zeta.
Okay. Okay. Jean? Boom, boom, boom. Auntie Jean? Auntie Jean?
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort out the other laptop.
We just need to get started.
Okay, all right. Just one more minute. Sorry, one more minute.
I'm having to get used to your white hair beard, sir.
Isn't it? My lockdown style. Yeah. The first week I was itching like crazy, man. But you know.
Hi, greetings, Patrick. Oops, sorry.
You got two things on.
Yeah.
Um.
Hi. We're still here.
So you need to turn one of them off.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll
All this techno stuff is quite interesting, isn't it? Nice stuff, doing things you never thought you could do.
User.
Yeah. All right.
User, what is your name, please?
It's me. I've got to turn it off.
So should I remove it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Done. Okay. Ready? Auntie Jean?
Hi, greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
Yep, greetings.
Greetings. Good to see you all. And welcome back to our part 4 of the Garvey Village. Unlock the chains and stay well. Remedies and keys to, as I say problems to the situation that we're in now. I'm going to do a quick libation to start off. And we've got some water here. If anybody wants to get a bit of water for themselves, you can do and just pour along with me. Just to say thank you to our ancestors. Say thank you for, well, their heads and shoulders who we are standing upon. The fact that they went through some struggles. We're actually going through some struggles now. And hopefully they will see us through our struggles. So I'm going to raise the water. And I give thanks to all my ancestors, the ones I do know by name and the ones I do not know by name, I give you thanks for your perseverance and helping me to be who I am and the person who I am now. So I raise up and I pour and I give thanks. Ashe.
Okay.
I give thanks for your perseverance through all the times that you went through. And I'm going back through the times when our ancestors, our forefathers, our foremothers, our foremothers, what they went through, the hardships they went through. We may think we're going through some hardships now, but I know it's nothing compared to what they went through. So let's hope that they can, not hope, ask them to give us the strength and the courage that they had to keep going. So for us to keep going, because we don't know what future is going to hold for us. We don't know what's around the corner when they lift all of this. So we hope that they give us the courage and the wisdom to drive through. Ashe.
Ashe.
And one last thing, let our messages that our ancestors give us be as clear as this water, because sometimes the messages are muddled, you know, we get it wrong or we don't even, or we miss it. So let's hope the messages they give us is clear and that we can understand and we can follow through. Ashe.
Ashe.
And one last thing, I give thanks to my ancestors. So this is the time you can give thanks to your ancestors. I give thanks.
Ashe.
Okay. As I said, we are now ready to meet one of our directors. We have one of our directors, a hardworking sister, Patricia Palmer, is one of the Garvey Village directors. Patricia Palmer, could you please introduce yourself, please, and say what you have to
Welcome.
say.
Greetings and welcome. As Jean says, this is our 4th Zoom meeting, and it's to do with our continuing, our development for the Garvey Village. Unfortunately, or it would have been awful if we were not able to do something to continue keep the momentum going. So the Zoom idea was really a brilliant one. I don't know how many people on the meeting tonight are aware of the Garvey Village and what we hope to do, but essentially it's to establish a centre for African and Caribbean people so we can access this centre and have our needs met in terms of education, in terms of our social interaction, in terms of political development, personal development, healing, etc., etc., etc. So having this meeting, or having regular meetings, this is our 4th one and it's really great, is just for us to keep connected and to stay in touch with each other and to share the platform, particularly for those individuals who would wish to participate in the Garvey Village once it is up and running. So welcome and thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you. And on that note, I'm going to introduce our very first presentation for this evening, and it's none other than our very own lovely working Juney Mohammed. Please.
Okay, can I ask us before we, Juney, apologies, just to outline how the session's going to go, so the people who've not joined previously will be aware of how it's going to, the whole thing's going to flow. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine. Royston?
Okay, so essentially we got 4 speakers this evening, and they will speak to us for 20 minutes, half an hour, and at the end of that we can ask them some questions. So the invitation is not to interrupt the speaker unless they invite you into something that's participative, and the intention is that we'll finish and have the final half an hour, which will be an open floor for further questions that you may not get to ask that specific speaker at that point in time. So that's the essence of the flow for this evening.
Thank you, Patricia, for the reminder. Can't think of everything.
Oh, let me say two things.
So the water, sorry.
Let me say two things. The session is being recorded, and I want you all to get familiar in finding chat, you know, because somewhere on your system is chat, which allows you to send a message or put a question, you know, or to put your email details or whatever it is that we might ask for. And at partway through, I'll put up the details of all the speakers, so you'll be able to take a screenshot of their details so that you can be in touch with them. And I'll do that more than once. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Royston. And just a reminder for everybody to write your questions down. So make sure you've got your pen and your papers ready. Write your questions down that comes up so the speakers don't get interrupted. You ask your questions afterwards, and also have some water to, as I said, hydrate yourself, okay? So our next speaker, or our first speaker, is Juney Mohammed. And Juney Mohammed is going to be talking about how to keep going during this time. Juney Mohammed, the screen is yours. Unmute yourself, my dear. Unmute yourself. Click.
And before, good evening. Before I start, can other people mute themselves because I can hear background in their house? Is that okay? Great. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Greetings, greetings. Lovely to see faces when we're in a time of isolation. And I just wanted to start, actually, when we talk about keeping going, I just want us to just do a little bit of breathing initially. Is that okay? Before I get into the topic. So if you can just place your feet on the ground, and all I want us to do is to have some space to raise your arm, and just breathe in as you raise your arm, and come down to your heart center and let it go. And breathe in, take your arms up, and breathe out as you bring it to heart center. And breathe in as you take your arms up, and breathe out as you take it to heart center. Whew. And just let it out. Whew. And you should feel some tingling start to release from the tension in our shoulders. Is that okay? P, did you do it? Did you do it, P? Yeah, okay, good. She's still doing it. Okay, because often when you're trying to keep going, we don't realize that we stop breathing the way we need to breathe. So one of the things is, some of you may know me, some of you don't. So I'll just introduce myself without being rude. I'm Juney Mohammed. I'm one of your community local activists promoting good well-being in our community. And I also work in mental health. So just a little bit to say who I am. Okay, our topic tonight is keep on going through this time. And the key things that I wanted to address was the fear that this time has created for a lot of people, is a lot of fear. The second thing will be anxiety, grief, isolation, and just being at home with family or children when you're not accustomed to being at home and working from home together. So I'm just going to cover some of those areas quickly. And Royston or Jean, if you give me a little sign that I don't go over my, when the time comes. Is that okay? So the first point is, how do we face this time? I have many people saying that they're actually frightened to leave their home or go on public transport. They don't know what to make of all the news. So they're quite frightened and they are scared. So one of the things around keeping going is, if we focus on how do we build our own resilience. So some of you have been making sure you're eating well and you're taking in nutrition for your health protection. Some of you are taking your remedies that many of your parents and your families would have shown you how to make. So some of you have found the bush tea in those bags that you haven't rattled for a while. So you're taking your Cersei and your meringue and your cool bush and your mint tea and your garlic and your thyme, orange peel, lemon peel, all kind of things people are drinking. But actually, as much as the media said those things don't work, actually what they work to do is build up your resilience, and they help your body to keep well, because everybody runs busy lives. So the fact that you're eating well and that you are taking in things to give you resistance to fight anything that comes to you is a psychological and physical action to try to protect yourself. Washing my hands alone is a part of the action, that I don't touch my eyes, I don't touch my nose or my mouth, where I'm going to carry germs anyway. So a lot of us already know how to do that. But if you have good resilience, or my mum would say good resistance, we can try and protect ourselves. So the fear is real, because the media projection, particularly in the early days of COVID-19 and what it's all about, and all the media, different, WhatsApp films and all the different things, a lot of people have actually felt quite frightened. And so they haven't really spoken to anybody to allay their fears. So as soon as people get the normal kind of hay fever symptoms or spring flu symptoms, people are quite frightened. So it's really important to allow people to say that they feel anxious and fearful about that, but actually they feel frightened to leave their homes. And so they may not be getting some things done or asking for help. So I'm going to kind of leave that there. But the main facts is that if you increase your normal good hygiene, just take it up even more, your usual hygiene, get good rest, get good sleep, and nutritionally keep yourself well, and psychologically feed yourself well-being, the spirit of gratitude. So when you have the spirit of being grateful for life and finding things to celebrate in life, just as we started our session in that libation, being thankful, finding things to be thankful, you produce happy hormones or endorphins that help to protect you. Also, when you're looking at fear and anxiety, if you feed your fear, you will overproduce a hormone called cortisol. Some of you have heard of cortisol in creams we rub on our skin, but actually cortisol is an anxiety hormone that we produce in our bodies when we feel frightened. And overproduction of this can increase your heart rate, your blood pressure, and can cause you to not be digesting your food, increase your cholesterol levels, and cause people to maybe feel like, am I having a stroke? So we must be mindful, particularly under the pressure that people are feeling with additional responsibilities, fear of losing their home, fear of maybe not having a job to go back to, fear of not seeing their elderly parents or vulnerable relatives or their children. There's lots of fear that people are having. So we have to do everything to support each other to keep the anxiety levels down, the stress down, and own that actually I may have some more responsibility to take care of people who may not have health practitioners coming out to them. I might have more responsibility because it's difficult to queue for so long. It's difficult to look after people who are now isolated from you. So I want us to think about some of that. The more we focus on the things that we have no control over, the more you increase your anxiety. And then actually, then you're going to spin out of control. And when you spin out of control, some people are actually starting to feel suicidal. And we need to manage some of these emotions by saying, let me just control the things I can control and take responsibility for. And each time I start to feel anxious, look at that anxiety and say, actually, can't do much about this, but I can take action on there and seek help. Seek help. You've got within the Garvey village, you've got people that we can seek help. And I'm sure many of you are a part of different networks. If you need help, ask for help, because people are connected to different types of support. Don't feel no way if you have had COVID, because some of us actually are having a lot of anxiety because we feel shame that we've caught this virus. There is nothing to feel ashamed about or embarrassed about, because initially it was put out that, oh, Black people can't catch it, you know, and all of these different things. So then people feel embarrassed and then they're hiding rather than getting support and encouragement as they go through it, because it is tough when you are going through that COVID, when you feel like you can't breathe and you feel a lot of anxiety with that condition. So please encourage whoever is around you to speak up. I hope that I've kind of covered some of the fear and anxiety elements. What I will move on to is isolation. A lot of us are forced to work from home and work from a virtual space, which has meant you're forced to take on new social skills, media skills and techniques. You're forced to work in front of camera, some of you are working over Microsoft Teams, not just the Zoom. You've got these different platforms and there's a lot of pressure to work over those platforms.
He was going to do that, he said, isn't it?
And people have felt quite exhausted already. They've had enough already, much less adjusting to another 3 weeks at least. And social distancing or physical distancing is not going away right now, as they work out how they're going to phase back the workforce. So some people are at home with their children of different ages. So they're not accustomed to having to balance working from home and increased pressure of the workload. Is that Loughton? If you can mute your button that we don't get your background. Loughton Brown? Thank you. So that's really important that we understand that to be at home, most of us are working in the tough jobs, the frontline jobs in health and social care and housing and local authority jobs or NHS jobs. And people have got increased workload. And then they're having to manage their children in the same environment who have got all this work to do, or their young children who just want your attention, and you're also trying to be in a meeting and meet all these demands and changing responsibilities. That is really tough. People have said very clearly they're finding that tough, and they're feeling bad that they can't even keep up with the work because they're also having to look after children, and they're having to go out to appointments where, say for example, you've got a pregnant person in your household or a relative you look after. Health visitor and midwife is not coming to your house. They're having to go to those appointments. So that's an extra load people are feeling. The same, you might be dropping off food to an elderly parent, but you can't hug them. You can't kiss them. And they don't understand why you're not going in the house. So the isolation is having an impact on not having somebody physically in your space. And what's the word? Is it tactile? People. Yeah, we like to touch. We like hug. We like kiss. We want warmth. We want to experience you in our presence. And so it's the isolation is having a spiritual impact of people who want to be with people. We are social beings by nature, and we bounce off of each other. We feel each other. We communicate even without speaking when we're in each other's presence. So we're desperately missing that, and people are very lonely, but they're forced to, put on face, we're trained to put on face. So please help people to have that conversation. And it's okay to say, I feel lonely and I'm missing contact. And actually, if you're not too far, can we walk up the road together and do some activities, maintain social distance, but do something, because not everybody is coping. Is that okay? Yes? On the participant thing, I'm sure you can put, yeah. We could put a signal up. So that was kind of coping with isolation. The last key thing is, I missed out with the isolation. Families at home having to be a unit all the time, shopping together, cooking together, eating together, educating the children together. Some people are not used to it. So I understand there's been an increase in frustration. So some people are experiencing domestic violence. Some people are very curt with each other. There's been a lot of police turning up at people's houses where they've been breaking out or chucking each other out. So it's difficult, and not all the parents have been able to adjust. How do I flex to structure and support my child's day, that they have the school time and they have their social time, and then we have family time? There's a lot involved. So some of the children have actually been abusing their parents. So it's not just between the adults, it's between their children abusing them too. And we had an incident a few weeks ago where a young lady, 16 years old, in Lewisham, she jumped off the 8th floor. She fell to her death. And, you know, that's really tough that we arrive at that place. So what I'm saying to you is really serious, and we just have to support each other to work these things through, that we can, as you said, come out the other side of this and keep adjusting at different points. That's what I wanted to also say, is that when they gave you 3 weeks, you went like this. Then when they said another 3 weeks, people went, oh Lord. And then you see people start rebelling and breaking out because it's hard to go through lockdown. And so you keep having to make a new adjustment and put in different things to help you to cope. Not drinking a holy alcohol, you know, and smoking for morning to night. I'm talking about healthy coping strategies. And the last thing that I'm going to say is something about just grief. If people want to email me, some people haven't been able to grieve because it's not a normal circumstance how you would grieve for people that you've lost, family and friends. And we need to be able to talk about the people we've lost. And what I would suggest is people are doing 9-night online, just like we're doing now, to have a chance to celebrate the lives of the people they've lost and connect with their family and friends. So please suggest to people that they may use this process, but also seek support. And I have done some one-to-ones with people, just that they can have a chance to talk about death, because we don't really talk about death and they shouldn't be shut down. When we're bereaved, we are simply bereaved, and it is a painful time when you can't grieve traditionally in the way that we would normally grieve. And so really on that note, as I round up, I've said a lot of things to start off our evening tonight around how to keep going. The other one is just simply laugh and share a meal online, and turn on the WhatsApp and the FaceTime and let people see how good the food look, and even clap your mouth 2 times how the food sweet you. Yes? And even if you need to pray together or sing together, but don't leave yourself in a place where you're not reaching out and connecting. And that's what I'd like to say. Thank you. You can unmute now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Juney, for that. Has anybody got any questions to give to our sister Juney? Any questions at all? Don't forget, no questions is a silly question.
You know, you talked about people kind of, I'm going to say, making themselves happy, or reaching for happy moments. You share a couple of techniques about what you can do to reach a happy moment if you're feeling a bit down at the. If you don't have somebody you can call, what can you do by yourself?
One of the things that I did, I was just looking at some photos from some happy moments and enjoying those memories. And then I allowed myself to pick up the phone and phone some of the people who were in that photo. And then we were laughing. We had a glass of drink and we were having some jokes together as we were reminiscing. So that's what some of the things that I did. And the other one was I shared a meal. So I cooked my meal look pretty. And then I took a photo of it and I sent it and made everybody jealous. And that did sweet me.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions?
No questions.
Everybody's gone quiet. You can unmute yourself to ask the question.
Merlee,
one of the things that I've done to keep myself busy and occupied and happy is listening to music, roots music, reggae music, and dance around the floor, because they're, especially at this time, they are playing a lot of music from the 60s, 70s, 80s. And it's, again, in terms of your photograph, mine is the music and the memories from that. So I dance around my place when I hear the music playing, you know, and that's for me very uplifting. The other thing that we can always do is hug ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Give ourselves nice squeeze and rubs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Juney, can you hear me? It's Paul Phoenix.
Yeah.
Hi. I remember you. We met some time back with the late brother Pink.
Yes.
But yes. Good. Rest his soul in peace. One of the things you mentioned was actually cooking. I think, in a way, this particular crisis, this virus, has taught us how we can have some very, very nourishing meals and steer our children away from the takeaway business. You know, start teaching them how to cook simple but healthy meals. A lot of black-eyed peas and, you know, rice and a lot of good stuff that we were raised on. One of the things that I would like to mention is about people who have high blood pressure, for example, and they would obviously get very flustered not knowing what this virus is all about, and they might be inclined to take a lot of home remedies, including salt and pineapple. If you're taking tablets for high blood pressure, eating pineapples before or just afterwards is not a good idea, for example. So one of the things that we could tell people about is what fruits is good for them and what fruits they shouldn't consume while they're taking the tablets. Yeah. You probably know more about this than I do. So I think that is something that, you know, we could tell a lot of people, particularly those who are having high blood pressure or taking tablets for high blood pressure, because they are very, very vulnerable because of the situation and also because of the tablets that they're taking as well.
Okay.
So Juney, you can give an answer, but actually following you is Merlee Harris, who spent 40 years eating, sleeping, and living this stuff. So,
okay. All I will just say is that fruit before meals, keep to water-based fruits that are not so high in the natural sugars. That's really the main thing, because a lot of time we're eating the fruit after the meal and it's then fermenting in the digestion, and that's causing other problems. So water-based fruits, like the melons, and I know the seeds from the red melon, the watermelon. I know that people have been blending up that, and that's been really helpful for high blood pressure. So the main thing with people with high blood pressure is to do certain types of exercise to release tension from the body, and it will bring down the pressure, and not overeat, and not to overeat. That's the main thing. And I end that there because I don't want to steal Merlee's thunder.
I will pass it on. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Juney.
Thank you, Juney.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. Woo! Can we do a screenshot? Do you know how to do it? Do you know how to do a screenshot?
But whether we're going like this.
Yeah. How do you do this? I'd love to have to do this.
Put your hands up. Let's see.
Oh my God! I've shut you all off.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You locked yourself out. Oh, there you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. But I don't know how to do a screenshot. But somebody might know how to do a screenshot.
Okay.
All right, then carry on. Carry on. Don't pay me no mind.
Thanks, Juney.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Juney. And just a quick note. Thank you very much, Juney. Very informative, brilliant, and touching on things that we don't really like to talk about, death and all of that. So yes, thank you. Also, everybody make sure that you are muted. I can't say that for those people who's coming in, but you know, stay muted so that the presentation doesn't get interrupted. Moving on.
One second. I've also asked and invited you to find chat and put your email address in there so that we can be in touch with you. So put your email address. At halftime, I will put up contact information about our speakers so you can take a screenshot or a picture of that in a moment at halftime, after we've heard from Merlee Harris. Okay, go ahead, thanks.
Just a quick one. Miss McCoy puts in that it would be a good idea to create a Garvey Village Share Your Plate group. So, Judy, what have you started? Okay, so my next presentation is Merlee Harris. And could you please mute your device, please? Thank you. Merlee Harris, and she's going to be talking about how to detox and how to cleanse your colon, along with rebuilding your immune system. So, Merlee Harris, would you like to introduce yourself? And yes, the screen is now yours.
Thank you. Wow. Can you put, am I on?
Yeah.
What is it? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you, Juney, for such an uplifting presentation. I'm moving away from the whole Corona thing because I'm up to here with Corona. But it's just good for you to put your perspective on it. I'm Merlee Harris, and I am the founder of Beechcroft Retreats. I think some of you probably have met me at different events. And as Royston was saying, I've been in this field for over 42 years. Sometimes it just feels like yesterday, because when you're involved in health, it becomes just part of how you are. So the time span of it seems like yesterday, really, because living it, breathing it is what you do. There is no time factor to it. And when Royston invited me to come on and speak to all of you tonight, I was thinking, okay, so this obvious thing, we're all locked down in and everything, but I wanted to just share with people how in the time that they have at home, that they can actually do a mini detox and some cleanses for themselves. So that is my main work of what I do anyway, and I specialize in helping people from not having their gallbladders removed. So I do a lot of cleansing with the liver, gallbladder, kidneys, and so on. So that and colonics and teaching people how to do their own enemas, which we're going to touch upon some stuff tonight, that you can really become empowered yourself doing many things at home, because I think a lot of people are going to come out of this a little fatter than they went in because they keep on going to the fridge. So I'm here to be a little bit of a party pooper tonight, and we're going to empty the bin. Yes? So while you're eating, we're going to empty so that you stay well, because some of the things that you're probably eating, it wouldn't be your normal thing, but when you're sitting, you've got nothing to do, and somebody says, oh, do you fancy another whatever, you just find you're indulging. So in order to keep the body well and to keep the brain well, we have to go and look at what's going on in the colon. Because if the colon is not well, then our thinking and everything else becomes smeared, really. Because the gut and the brain is really synonymous. It's on the same meridian. So some of you probably find that you're not evacuating as much as you're putting in. But for some of you, that might feel like it's a normal thing, because if you go to the doctor and you say to them that you've not been to the toilet for several days or whatever, they will say to you, well, that's normal. It is not normal. While you're putting food in, you should be passing waste through. So if you're having 3 meals a day, 3 full meals, so say you've got porridge for breakfast with fruit or whatever, you've got a lunchtime, you've got an evening meal, and you're drinking your quota of water in between, then actually you should be having 3 good bowel movements. If it's going over 2-3 days, then that's what I call the bin filling up. And the bin should not be allowed to fill up and to stay filled, because that's how we get bloating, we get gas, we get digestive problems. The amount of people that come to me with acid reflux, so they eat and then when they go and lie down at night, they get a reflux of acid coming back up. And that's usually because people are eating, number one, too fast, and eating late in the evening, eating protein late in the evening. You should stop your meals by about 7 o'clock in the evening so that your digestion has time to rest. Most people sometimes, and now there's no excuse for it, because people say, well, I come from work and by the time I do this, I'm eating at 9 o'clock, eating at 10 o'clock. So for those of you who aren't out there on the front line and you're at home, then you can change that habit and actually eat earlier in the evening. And then you'll find that when you go to bed, you haven't got this reflux going on because you would have had time to digest your food. Now, just a little bit on the food side before I go back to the bowel. Most of you that are eating cooked food should be taking digestive enzymes with that food, because cooked food, there are no enzymes in cooked food. The weather's better now, so hopefully you're doing your some raw food, raw juices, foods that already have the enzymes. Other than that, each meal you have that's cooked, you should be taking a digestive enzyme to help the process along of you going to the toilet when you should. Now, the first movement you should have every day should be at 7 o'clock in the morning, because the body works like a clock on a biorhythmic cycle. So around between 1 and 3 o'clock, the liver is doing its work. So it's breaking down everything that you've had throughout the day, it's recycling stuff, and it's starting to dump into the small intestine. So by about 5-6 o'clock, small intestine is getting ready to dump into the large bowel at 7 for you to have a bowel movement. And so many people say to me, I never have a bowel movement at 7 in the morning. I've got to either get up, have a coffee, have something to eat before that happens. So that already shows you that your biorhythmic cycle is out of sync. So I would say to you, look at that and see if by the time we finish this evening, and when you go off and start doing something a little bit differently, see if you can reset your clock, because 7 o'clock is the ideal time to have a movement. If you're doing an enema, which we'll talk about a bit later as well, it's best to do the enema round about that time because you're going to get optimum movement because it's bowel time. If you're going to do exercise, heart time is at 11 in the morning. So you want to use that time optimally. So because it's heart time, then you're going to get more energy to do your exercise. If you're waiting and going round to the evening, say, when it's more spleen and stomach time later on, then your exercise isn't going to be so optimum. So for those of you exercising, do it around 11 o'clock. Now, I don't know if you know this, but you have 5 feet of bowel, large intestine, 26 feet of small. And ever since you started to come off of mum's breast milk and started to eat normal food, that colon, that 5 feet of colon has been coating. And if you've been eating foods that you're not able to digest properly, then that food becomes sticky all the way around the colon and starts to build up something that we call mucoid plaque. Now, imagine that you've got your colon and you've got all that plaque sitting around the colon from you were a young child growing up till where you are now. Is it any wonder that a lot of people have digestive problems, gas, bloating, not being able to go to the loo properly, taking supplements and things, but wondering why they're not quite working? If it's got to get through that thick tire layer of tar, then it's not going to be so optimum. So here's a little tip on how to get the bowels moving in the morning. When you first wake up, it's best for you to have a teaspoon of bicarb in warm water. Wait a half an hour before you then have this mixture, and you might want to write it down because this is something you're going to juice and have in the fridge. You're going to juice lemons, limes, ginger, garlic, turmeric. And that's all going to be put through a juicer, not blended, through a juicer. That's seeds, skin, everything, all washed, all organic. That's going to be kept in the fridge. And each day, you're going to take a tablespoon of that after you've had your bicarb, after half an hour, and you put that in a pint of warm water, and you take your time and you drink it. What we're trying to do is to get your body, yes?
Just say that list again a bit more slowly, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, if you want to make up a batch of it, it's 6 lemons, 6 limes, a knob of ginger to your taste, a whole bulb of garlic, about 7 pieces of fresh turmeric, and that's all going to be juiced, not blended. It's important that you juice it. If some of you out there are practitioners, you know that to that you can add different essential oils from frankincense, copaiba. There's lots of different things you can add to it, but we'll keep it simple and just make up this and keep it in the fridge, because that's going to go into a tablespoon of that will go into warm water daily, every morning, to get your stomach in a more alkalized state. Now, don't have anything to eat for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, even after you've done this little routine. Wait, and then if you're going to have a green juice for breakfast, do a green juice. If you're going to have porridge or other things like that, you can, but you've got to leave that time, because what I'm finding that people are eating too close. It's like they've had something, then an hour later they're already thinking what's in the fridge. 2 hours later they're thinking again. You've got to give the body time to digest what you're putting in, and you've got to take your time. So when you're eating, don't be on your mobile phone, don't be texting anybody, or take your time and be with the food, and chew until the food becomes liquid. Because as a colon hydrotherapist, when I do a colonic, it's really heartbreaking when I'm doing a treatment and I've got a whole menu going down the tube, and I can tell you what you've ate a month ago. You know, bits of chicken, bits, whatever, going down the tube. So it's really, really important that we take the time to be with the food that we're eating. And if you take that time, you'll find that you'll eat less. When you're eating quickly, you're filling a gap until the brain switches and says, oh, hang on, I've had enough. But if you take your time, and as you're going to chew, put the fork down. You don't need to have it suspended. Put the fork down and chew. Don't speak to anybody. Make that your silent, sacred eating time so that your body can digest. Your liver will love it. Go out, if you can, go out in the sunshine and have your lunch. Go out in the sunshine and just sit and have your lunch quietly. Do not be on the phone talking to anybody and eating. It's very, very upsetting to the digestion. Now, did everybody get what I said about the bicarb? Just raise your hand for me. Yeah, the technical, cool. Now, most of us, it happens that we're not actually drinking enough water. And I'm not talking tap water, because tap water has got to be the worst water, boiled or otherwise, that anybody could drink. I'm happy to talk about different waters with you at the end. You can ask me, but you need to have be drinking at least 2 and a bit liters of water per day. And as the weather gets warmer, up that to at least, 2 to 3 liters a day. You'll be surprised. People say, that much water? Now, imagine that you have something that needs a flow. The body needs a flow. It needs to move things. You can't be eating and not having water to make things flow. And now, I don't mean eating and drinking at the same time. That is a no-no. 40 minutes before or 40 minutes after, for you to have any drinks, because you don't want to dilute that lovely digestive juices that actually you need in the mouth when you chew to break down the food. And it does break my heart when I see people eating and drinking at the same time. And then they wonder why they either feel full immediately or they don't feel too good afterwards, because they're just washing food directly into the stomach, and the enzymes don't have a chance to break down the food. Hence, when I do a colonic, I can identify everything that's been eaten. Plus, when you have that going on in your system, you're more likely to attract the parasites and the worms. Because if you haven't got food that's broken down and it's just sitting there, it's rotting. Just as if you had food in a dustbin and you left it there, went on holiday, came back, what would you find? It'd be full of maggots, right? The same thing is happening inside. So you've got to get the gut ecology right. Lots of people that have been on antibiotics throughout their lives, they don't realize that you have to put that good bacteria into the system. And you can do this through sea moss, soaking sea moss overnight, and in hot water, wash it really, really well, soak it overnight, hot water, and just blend it raw. Blend it down with some linseeds that you've pre-soaked as well, and it comes up like a really lovely jelly, and it'll last in the fridge for up to 2 to 3 weeks. And you just have to cut a corner of that. So you imagine that's like a brush in the colon, cleaning through, keeping you nice and smooth. Because actually, when you go to the toilet and you do your number 2 and you clean yourself, your toilet paper should not be smeared. That always shows me something that's going on with you're not digesting properly. When you're using all your chia seeds, your psyllium husk, the things that I would say would brush the colon, it should come away nice and smooth, not splattery, not diarrhea-y. It should be formed. So that's always good to remember. Once you've got that bit right and you've got your food set up for the day, I would say set up your food so that you're not hungry when you want something to eat, because then you're going to cheat more. Because if you've waited and you just think, oh my gosh, I'm really hungry, you're more likely to go for that convenient carb, the bread, the whatever. But if you've got time, for goodness sake, just plan what you're going to have throughout the day. Always have a good pot of soup there as a fallback, so that if you're really hungry, have a cup of soup and then make your other things, and you can just take your time and really enjoy. Juney was talking about the food tonight. take your time, and even if you couldn't cook before, make it up. It doesn't matter, as long as it tastes good to you. Just cook your stuff from fresh and enjoy what you've prepared. But if you're just going to wait and then go to the cupboard for the biscuit, the whatever, and let's face it, guys, if you haven't got the rubbish in the cupboard, then you can't eat it. So put things in that you know that you can snack on, that's not going to be rubbish. This is such a perfect time for all your lovely beetroot salads, chopped up with your pop chow, chopped up with your raw cabbages. And I don't know if any of you do ferments, if you make sauerkraut and things like that. There's so many lovely things you can add. You can bake your plantains. Oh, don't get me started. You can do a one-pot dish with sweet potatoes at the bottom, red onions, cabbage in the middle, and all the other what could we put on? Quinoa is such an easy grain to use. And then you just season it how you want it. And you can have that throughout the day, and you can even have it cold as well. Something that's substantial, that you're not going to go and start picking and having stuff that you shouldn't. Now, what does a healthy colon feel like? A healthy colon feels like you've got no gas, no belching, no passing wind. When you eat, you feel comfortable. And you should always eat and leave a little space so that you're not completely full and sitting there thinking, oh, yeah, you shouldn't have that fullness. You should leave a little gap. And don't go and just eat a pudding on top of what you've eaten when you've eaten vegetables, because that will bloat you because of sugar. And as Juney was saying about the fruit, try not to eat fruit after 2 o'clock. So up until the morning till 2, you can have your fruit. In the afternoon, make it the vegetables, because otherwise you can get bloated from it, because it takes different times to digest. Because I've seen people have a meal and they go to the fruit bowl, get a tangerine or get an apple, and I'm sitting there thinking, can't say anything, because you've got to allow people. If you're on a retreat, I will say it. I feel in command that I will say it. But if you've come to visit me, I just watch and see how people actually eat. And no matter what, they'll always have room for that piece of pudding or whatever it is. Sometimes, you know, just listen to yourself a little bit, wait a little bit, and you'll find actually the feeling of wanting that thing will go. So be kind to yourself in your bowels. Really, really important. Now, did you know that your mouth, your teeth, has a lot to do with your digestion? And so many people actually don't realize that the toothbrush that you use in your mouth and how you leave it in the bathroom, that when you flush the loo in the bathroom, that there are particles that actually come in the air and will go onto the things in the bathroom. So it's really important that we understand the hygiene, especially now with everything going on, how things now have to be, you have to pay more attention. And also when you're brushing away at your gums, abrasing the gums, how many of you have got receding gums from overbrushing? Really, really important, because your mouth health, your teeth health is your stomach health. And teeth that are missing here and there, plus teeth that have still got bits of amalgam in, there's so much going on in the mouth that it's really important that we understand that we should not be abrasing the actual teeth. And to understand that all the meridians from stomach, the heart, the lung, the gallbladder, the stomach, they're on each point in the mouth of the tooth. So if you've got areas missing within your teeth, say at the bottom, right hand, left at the back, it's got a big gap or it's got a large amalgam filling in there, then that's on the kidney meridian. Then you've got the small intestine, the colon at the front of the teeth. And how many people have got bits of teeth missing? So what we do here at Beechcroft Retreats, we have a system of brushing that is a non-brushing system. And it's ultrasound, not ultrasonic, ultrasound. And this brushing system goes 12 millimeters below the gum line to clean the mouth really, really well. Not even your dentist can get that low to clean the teeth. because what we've got to understand, if it's bad in here orally, it's going to be bad further down. And sometimes when you're laying in bed and you get that tickly cough at night, or you know, when people do that with the ear, the itching of the throat. I don't want to be a party pooper here, but that's actually parasites coming up to have a feast. Because, yes, parasites coming up to have a feast in the mouth, because there is food particles left in the back of the throat from not gargling, not cleaning the teeth properly, because people just go in there, get the old toothbrush out the thing, and they do a quick thing and they say they brush their teeth. But you watch it when next time you see somebody doing this, doing the itchy thing, or they get up suddenly in bed and they're coughing, that can be attributed to the little parasites coming up to be fed. So with that said, I would like to cover your own cleansing, your own enemas. I don't know if any of you do enemas, but I think everybody should understand how to cleanse their own colon. It's very, very simple. You can get the bags online, to be fair. You can get the enema bags on Amazon. And I won't go too much into it, because if you feel uncomfortable about how to do it, you can always contact me. But there's simple things to use. And with a little bit of Himalayan salt, or sometimes you can do a coffee enemas. They're fantastic to help to support the liver, because obviously everything we eat, everything we drink, the liver has to process that. And what we find here when we do the body screens is that there are so many people that have fatty livers. And somebody might say, well, what if, you know, even if you're thin, you can have a fatty liver, because it just depends how your body breaks down the fat. So it's really important to keep the liver clean. And one way to do it is to introduce coffee enemas into your life, into your world. And I'm really happy if you want to know more how to do that, just please contact me, because it'd be a whole thing now if I had to get on the floor and show you how to do it. Now, I wanted to touch upon blood groups and blood group diets. And some people might disagree, but I'm here to tell you my experience of over 42 years of working with this system, that working according to the person's blood type actually has made an enormous difference in their health moving forward. And I chose the B type tonight. Don't know why, it came up. And I just wanted to share some of the things that the B blood group, so if you're a B blood group out there, some of the things that you need to avoid. And I know I'm probably going to have people screaming at me with at least two that I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Oh, by the way, there are 4 blood groups. There's A, B, O, and B. If you are a B blood group, the fruit and the juices that you need to avoid avocado, number 1, and you need to avoid coconut milk, pomegranate, prickly pear, and star fruit. The vegetables that you need to avoid are anything to do with aloes, artichoke, olives, green or black, pumpkin, radish, rhubarb, tomato or tomato juice. The grains that you need to avoid are amaranth, artichoke, any pasta thing, anything with corn, cornmeal, anything like that, kamut, popcorn, wild rice, rye bread, all of those grains you need to be a bit careful of. Dairy, any blue cheese, ice cream, cow's milk, anything like that as a B you need to avoid. The beans you need to avoid are aduki beans, black beans, black-eyed peas, lentils. So anybody of you that loves your hummus, you're going to have to make it with some other kind of beans, or you know, other beans. And tofu and pinto beans you need to avoid. Now, and I'm really going to upset you all because the nuts and the seeds. I know so many of you doing all your raw stuff love your cashews, but if you're a B blood group, you need to be mindful of cashews. Your liver doesn't like it. Cashews, hazelnut, peanut butter, pistachio, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, and sunflower. So on that note, I did get a little wrap up from Royston. I'm going to stop there and give time for people to ask me questions. I know I've done a whistle stop through everything, but I hope you got something from what I've shared tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. That was brilliant. I've got a question anyway, but has anybody else got any questions to put to Merlee?
Yes,
Anybody? You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
That was really, really interesting, Merlee. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What type of, you said we should not be drinking bottled tap water, and you're going to say what type of water we should be drinking.
All right. Write down True Water.
Who?
True Water, TRUU, True Water. Look that up afterwards. But the water that I would say that is water that you can get now is pure oxygen water, Cocoon water it's called. Kagun, Cocoon water, which is pure oxygen.
Where would you get that from?
Yes.
I supply it from Beechcroft.
Okay. What about distilled water?
Which one?
Distilled.
Right, distilled water is okay, but you cannot stay on it for a long period of time because it will start to leach your own minerals. So unless you are going to remineralize it, because water carries memory. So that is dead water, distilled water. And it's one I use when we're doing detox for a week or so to get to clean, but I wouldn't live on distilled water, no.
So how would you utilize it or mineralize it?
You can put minerals in. We have mineral drops here that we can put in, or even crudely a bit of Himalayan salt to bring back the minerals in the water.
And that's
so not so that you would taste it, just to bring it up to the ionic state.
Okay. And that's all that you would need.
Yes.
Himalayan salt put in the water.
Yes, but again, I would be careful because if somebody's hypertensive with high blood pressure, I wouldn't want them on that for a long period of time with that salt in the water anyway. I would want them to look at going over to the Cocoon or looking at getting a system fitted like True Water.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question, please.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the blog group. You said that. Please come again when you said somebody. If you're on B, what must you avoid, please?
Which one do you want to know about? The beans? Do you want to know about the meat? Do you want to know about the vegetables? Which?
Vegetable, the meat, please.
The meat you need to avoid is bacon and pork. And in fact, nobody, whether you are an O blood group who is a natural kind of meat eater, should eat pork because of the particular worm that's in pork that you can never kill. Trichinella, you cannot kill it even when it's cooked.
All right.
There's a question from somebody asking about Facilian seed.
Psyllium husks. Psyllium husks are great, but remember that you need the very, very fine psyllium husk because they've got the coarser one or the fine one. The fine one cleans the small intestine a lot better. And then when it bulks up, and remember, if you're on psyllium, you must be on 2.5 liters of water a day because it draws a lot of water from the colon.
Oh, interesting.
And chia seeds are wonderful. You can make yourself chia pudding, which is really amazing. There's all different ways you can, mix it with almond milk and so on, and make it nice with all your fruit in. And then just go every morning and take a nice slice of it out, add some of your sea moss in that, and you're good to go.
Wow.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was really excited to hear about our livers.
Yes.
And as you said, a lot of us have grown up with certain diets and actually even born with not very good livers, to be honest.
That's right.
And so could you just briefly, you gave us a recipe to alkalize the body earlier.
Yes.
And to help the body storing unwanted fat.
That's right.
Is it just focusing on that recipe that you gave us earlier?
Right. If you really want to clean up the liver by itself, then you need to look at making yourself a turmeric, what we call golden drink, which is turmeric with a little bit of black pepper, ground black pepper, in order to release the curcumin in the actual turmeric. And you make that with slippery elm, marshmallow root, and you boil that all in almond milk that you have probably made yourself, the almond milk that you've made yourself.
Slippery elm and?
Right, slippery elm and marshmallow root.
Marshmallow
root, and they're all powders, yes? And it can come up quite thick, so be mindful. Do a teaspoon of each when you're putting it in the milk as it's on the cooker, and keep on whisking, otherwise you're going to end up with a lump that you're not going to enjoy. You can add a bit of cinnamon to that, a little bit of vanilla essence, and a half a teaspoon of your turmeric powder. Yeah, and whisk that in and have it as a night drink. The liver loves it.
Okay. Thank you.
And of course, enzymes. I can't emphasize enough. Every meal you have, you should be taking enzyme. And Terrazyme is the one that I recommend, which you get from doTERRA.
How do you spell that?
Terrazyme.
How do you spell it?
TERRAZYME, Terrazyme, from doTERRA. If those of you aren't registered with doTERRA, you can always get to me. Royston will put my details up, because they're the only company that if you're using essential oils, you can actually take their oils internally.
Hi, Merlee. What about things like aloe vera, cerci tea, cerci bush?
Yes, Paul. Yes, you can. But if your blood group is B, the aloe vera is not going to be great, because it's going to thin your blood. It also thins the blood of O blood types. Yeah. So while it's a good herb, it just because it's not good for everybody.
Right.
Yes. So in context, we've got to know what we're doing here, because I hear this all the time. People say, oh, aloe vera, and they're drinking copious amounts of it, and they wonder why they're really still not feeling well. It's because, you know, we do blood work here, and when we take a drop of blood and put it under the microscope and that blood is curdled, you know that person's had a reaction with the food that they've eaten. So you need to know what you're doing. Just because somebody says it's, do your research.
Okay.
I want to ask about
so
whether
this will be the last question, yeah?
That's fine.
Have you got any publication, Merlee, about the work that you've done? Because you've given us a lot of information.
Yes.
And I just think, you know, if it was laid down in some written format, it would be very, very useful for us.
Yes, I do have a book out called Leaky Gut, that I took how to mend a leaky gut. And again, all of that will be put up. Royston, you'll put all of that up. I am published with that, and my website's up, and in May I'm going to be launching my own supplements that will be coming through, and all of you will get the details of that. But you can always call me, email me. I'm very contactable. And contactable, like Jada was saying. You know, people want to, you know, feel that warmth. I am there. I will speak to you. I will send you information. Because I think at this time we all need to be so empowered around our health and what's okay and what isn't.
Indeed. Hello, Merlee.
Yes.
So Paul.
Is that Paul?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
You didn't hear me. That was the last question.
Oh, okay,
be very precise.
What about cerci tea?
Cerci tea is wonderful, and knowing that it works so wonderfully on the liver, We need to be mindful how much of it we're drinking. So when we're making it, make sure to balance it with the ginger, with some soursop, you know, make it so that it's balanced. Some people overdrink Cersei, and that as well can be a bit harsh on the liver if the liver is already compromised.
Thank you very much.
Question, Paul. Thank you.
Can I ask?
No more questions. No more questions. We are managing time here.
Okay.
Put your details. Put your
Just
details.
Email me. Call me.
Hold on. Put your details in the chat room, and we'll be able to connect you with Merlee. Also.
Also, you can save your questions to later on afterwards. The last part, you can save your questions and ask your questions then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to have a 10-minute break, and there will be a video rolling while you have that break. So once that video is finished, we will restart. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Merlee.
Thank you, guys.
This is a presentation in which say it's time for an African narrative. We need to build our identity as a people, to prepare our young people to raise for the future.
Thank you.
You can fight only for what you love.
Hi.
Love what you respect, respect what you
Hello?
know. Those are the words.
Hello?
Hold on a second.
Chidera.
Hold on a second. Where's that gone? Nikuri, you need to mute yourself. Hold on a second. I'm just going to mute everybody so that there's no interruption with the video.
Of Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf, a book that he used to raise German nationalism just before the Second World War. White people love themselves and respect white supremacy because they know about their supremacy. It's in their history, their present, their make-believe, and their vision for the future. All as portrayed by the total spectrum of domination of information that they've created to mold their reality. They project their aspirations, correct their real-life mistakes in movies, ads, documentaries, radio programs, education, books, poetry, laws, systems and institutions, in which, in turn, they then manifest their realities. Through their control of media, storytelling, values that we use, the culture that we live by, they control the world narrative and reality. Sadly, every time that we use their narrative, they stamp their culture and values top of our minds, in turn programming our cognitive mapping. Each time our cognitive map is molded, the opportunity cost is our perception of ourselves is diminished. The challenge for us in this manipulation is that it was designed to make us less competitive for their domination. Because the world is a competition for resources and we keep playing according to their rules. Perception therefore becomes a psychological tool or weapon that is used in the race of life. We say in brand management, perception is reality. It's an indictment on us as Africans that a fictitious world of Wakanda had to be created by Hollywood to give us some form of inspiration as Africans. Because you will note that within that very same fictitious Wakanda, there was a real America. And the CIA savior comes from a real American institution. This is all part of the system of brand creation and the attenuation of the African identity. The reason that happened is because we, as the older generations of Africans, have not understood the importance of building and packaging an image of Africa's greatness for our children to inspire them. So we continue to leave our children in the hands of white institutions, which were mandated to actually attenuate black minds. So before Africans can even dream about a renaissance, We need to start understanding the power of the mind and imagination. We have to start afresh and package our values, culture, inheritance, write and rewrite our own history so that we can package it and give it to our children as a reference point to build self-love, confidence as they move into the future. History is the lens we use to see into the future. For through history, we shape the future. As Africans, we need to remember that we are a great people. Greatness is in our DNA. Our ancestors built the pyramids. They taught the world to read and write. They created irrigation systems, started agriculture, created paper, and the first universities. We must use this heritage to build the esteem of our children, to grow their personal pride, lift their self-confidence, while using that to build a race identity and common interest. The biggest deficiency in African culture is our lack of awareness of our history, our inability to articulate our historical achievements and our contributions to humanity. Yet what's ironic is we are a culture of storytellers. It's counterintuitive. Therefore, most African nations are built on the premise that their history only starts with the arrival of the white man. Most black people's history starts with slavery, colonization, as if we didn't exist before the arrival of the white man. As a result, in their minds, we are slaves, colonized people who were advanced by whiteness. This is why we don't believe in ourselves and why our kids have no inspiration from Africa. This is why our people have no confidence to create because they think they are not capable. However, the facts are, we civilized the world. We invented the first writing systems 3,000 years before Christ, while Europe started writing only 1000 BC. We invented geometry, architecture, astrology, which is what we use to build the geometrically aligned pyramids in Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia. Our geometric knowledge was used to build the great steles of the Sahara, the great Mutapa Empire in Zimbabwe, an empire that had cities of stone, where granite rocks were cut into perfect rectangles, layered on top of each other, without any mortar. Ashanti gave the world gold that built Cairo, Baghdad, Constantinople into the biggest cities of the time, where all the gold was flowing back from Europe as they came to buy from these big cities. And it's at a time that the biggest cities in Europe only had 20,000 people to 35,000 at most. The biggest university, and the one that still exists, and the first university, was built at that time in Egypt too. All this information says that Africa built the world. But this is information that's not sitting in the hearts and minds of Africans. So what use is it? For while our people don't know their history, the white-owned media is telling them that they didn't exist when Jan van Riebeeck got here in 1652. It says we can't farm, so that's why we need white farmers to feed us. We are corrupt, hence we need supervision from white people. And we can't own commercial banks or run businesses. But all in the while, the richest man on the continent is a black man called Dangote in Nigeria. Worth $15 billion. He's got more money than even white monopoly capital in South Africa. He's following in the footsteps of Jaja Opobo and the palm oil families of old. And he made his billions despite Nigeria enduring a century of colonization. He banks his money in blackout banks, operates in a country where MTN South Africa makes its greatest profits, and the country is governed by black politicians. It's time we controlled the narrative in the minds of our people. Yes, we don't own much media, but we have a big advantage. Access to the most effective instant communication platforms that reach our people instantly and intimately. As people who come from a culture of storytelling, it comes without saying that we must speak to the souls of our people through rich content stories, using visual, text, audio, and graphic. In this connection generation, we must leverage technology and the sharing of information to talk to the hearts and minds of our people without intermediaries. Our people are under hypnosis, mind control. It's our responsibility to reverse this possession and mental occupation through smart counsel, interesting communication. Besides telling history, we must educate our people through knowledge about how the world works and how it's a competition between races. We need to simplify complex concepts and package them simply for our people to understand. Things like how slavery and colonization were the worst forms of corruption and crimes against humanity must be a given. The fact that our people lived a prosperous life on this land with sustainable farming practices, sustainable building practices, consuming without depleting for thousands of years before the white man came, which is why the white man had to come from a filthy, disease-ridden Europe to come to a continent with clean water. Animals are not depleted, trees are abundant, clean air and health. And only on the arrival of the white man do we start to see the depletion and the filthing of our environment. We need to teach our people how the Constitution has legalized European pillage by using European laws, systems, conventions, values, and cultures, while ignoring our customs, values, and laws. And yet the laws that are supposed to prevail in our continent and our countries is supposed to be the law of the majority. But what is most important about this endeavor is that we must remember that we're competing with the biggest companies that have huge budgets, skills, and resources, like NASPA's huge 1 trillion rand largesse. But to dominate the share of mind, we must beat them at their own game. We must be more creative, informative, have captivating content that reaches people in the palm of their hand and evokes their emotions before they get contaminated by mainstream media. So I'm appealing to our rich African business people to invest in a project in which we start to digitize the history and heroes of Africa. It is sad that the history of the Khoisan exists in books that were written by white men. Mutapa is superseded by the fictional creation of Sun City. It boggles my mind how when you Google the city of Benin, you only see scant information and you see nothing on Jaja of Opobo. Yet we say that Africa must leapfrog into the fourth industrial revolution. But how do we do that without content? This is the information age, but we're not creating digital information, digital content. With what shall we lift our youth and their spirits? How shall we inspire them if we do not have tangible, accessible, discoverable history? For how long should the British and Americans continue to write our history in their own voice? For this, I'm appealing that we need resources to harness and package our history in a manner that is going to inspire our youth.
You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, greetings everyone. I hope you enjoyed that clip. Fix your face. I have here with me Ras Prince, and who's going to be our next presenter. I'll be moving out of the way while he's going to be taking over. He's been talking about his business, which is Seeds to Fruits. He also has an allotment, and he also does deliveries. He specializes in exotic and tropical fruits and vegetables. So, Ras Prince,
leave me with something to say.
The screen is yours. Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself, and the screen is yours. Excuse me. Great.
Yes, greetings, family. Greetings, kings and queens. Yeah, I'm Ras Prince. Set up Seeds to Fruits 2 years ago. It's been really slow to the point that yeah, it's been slow to the point, but it's gradually picking up now. So basically, I sell tropical fruits and exotic fruits. And I'm talking things like sugarcane, jelly, coconut, mango, guinea, June plum, when they're in season, of course. And I get that out to ones-on-ones. I have a WhatsApp group where I post updates twice a week on availability of tropical and exotic fruits. And ones-on-ones basically text back to me what they would like to order. And I speak and get it out to them as quick as possible. As well as that, I do grow my own organic produce. When I say my own organic produce, I'm talking about literally everything: strawberries, raspberries, red currants, black currants, goji berries, pears, plums, grapes, apples. I can't think what I might have forgotten. Herbs. And then, you know, just the traditional veg. Beetroots, kale, cabbages, tomatoes, pumpkins, courgettes, Swiss chard, callaloo, spinach. I might have repeated myself, but that's generally it. And then I get the organic stuff out to ones-on-ones. I mean, right now there's this kind of super root that's kind of buzzing around town. It's called Yakon, and I've been growing this for about 2 years. It's a sweet root. So it has a multitude of health benefits for I&I people. So you can eat this root. It grows like a potato, but you can't eat it like an apple. Wash off it, wash the roots off, and just crunch on it, you know? It is absolutely amazing. You can cook it down. It's got the texture of a chocho, yeah? But I'd say it tastes better than a chocho, even. But it's good. And hopefully by next year, I've only harvested a few heads of this crop to get it out to ones-on-ones to sample. So I do have a fair amount to harvest still, and I plan to plant as much of it as I can. I've also got some sasumba plants on the go, and I've also got yeah. So no, there's sasumba. I've got 2 sasumba plants that I've been growing from seeds, and they'll be going out into the gardens here. Also, at the allotment, I have a little gardening group. I'm sad to say it's just women at the moment. I mean, I'm not sad to say. I'm happy to say it's just women. The men, them are not coming out. I don't know why. Not getting enough sisters, but those that I am getting are coming out and they're getting involved with weeding. We're talking about the past, we're talking about the present, we're talking about tomorrow. And, you know, there's a lot going on. There is a lot going on. Space is there. And just get ones-on-ones who are interested. It's just to get ones-on-ones interested in, ones-on-ones who are interested in growing their own produce. My garden's at Fir Hill Road. I think it's 300 and something A, Fir Hill Road, but it's Lewisham Sports Consortium football ground. And it's a football ground, but there's no football on at the moment. It's just music in my garden. Yeah, So if ones and ones are interested, you know, please do look me up. And if you're interested in ordering, you know, your traditional hard food, yeah, your mango, your jelly coconut, etc., etc., give me a bell. Let's see what this. Wait. Yeah, I've just been given instructions. I'm working under live directions here. And I was just told to follow it, yeah, just to say what's available. But today's been a busy day. Certain things are just finished already. So what have I got available? I've got jelly coconuts, pineapples, mangoes, tamarind, passion fruits, custard apples, apple bananas, avocados, pomegranates, papayas, grapefruits, oranges, okra, sweet potato, yellow yam, puna yam, yakov, red onions, white onions, carrot, green pumpkin, Prince pumpkin, spinach, ripe banana, ripe plantain, green plantain, key limes, lemons, matoke green bananas, chocho, Spanish garlic, Ugandan ginger, turmeric, soursop leaves, mango leaves, gooseberry leaves, regular sea moss, and that's, you know, more or less it. There's always something else because right now, no Jamaican mangoes are in season, even though mango season I kick off a yard right now. It was just yesterday, somebody sent me some beautiful pictures of some East Indian mango. And I could do the box of that right now because my customers are crying out for Jamaican mangoes. But yeah, I'm trying. I'm still trying, and I'm going to keep trying until our community respond to I, and that I can build this thing and serve the community like I'm trying to. Yeah. What else can I say? I'd like to say give thanks for the time for me to blur on about what I do and what Seeds to Fruit is. And if anybody is interested in getting involved with the allotment, you know, give me a call on 07 803 842 807 or call that number if you want to place an order. Oh. Yeah, that's more or less it. Okay, you're a bit clever. Yeah. So I'd like to say thank you. I don't know if I think I've said everything. And if there is anything else, I mean, you got any questions you'd like to ask, you know, I'm quite happy to answer what I'm able to answer, and what I can't answer, I'll go and look up and come back to you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Ras Prince.
Greetings.
Could you just repeat your number for me, please? Because I've written one down, but it seems to be different to the one that's on the sheet.
All right, then. The number is 07 803 842.
Right, it's 424 on the sheet.
No, 842.
847.
842 807.
Yes. All right, the sheet is incorrect then. Thank you.
That's all right, my love.
The sheet is actually perfect.
Oh, sorry, it's my eyes.
It's fine. No worries.
I apologize.
No worries.
No worry. Everything is good.
We're family. Okay, Merlee's got a question.
Okay, fire away.
Fantastic, because I also have an allotment, and really excited that you're growing all your own stuff. Do you do seed swapping? Because I get loads of pumpkin seeds, organic pumpkin seeds, because where I live down here in the countryside, I get all the lovely stuff from the farm shop and keep all the seeds. So I just wondered if you'd be interested at some point to do seed swapping.
Yeah, I do. I do save a lot of seeds, and I'm willing to seed swap with anyone who's willing to seed swap.
Okay.
One point I'd like to make I know you say you live in the country, and I don't know how prevalent this is, but when I was studying horticulture at Capel Manor, I remember them telling us about a white paper that was passed in Parliament that the farmers insisted, the farmers were asking the government on the permission on using creosote as a plant food. Yeah. So subsequently, creosote is found in mother's breastfeeding milk. Creosote is found in bread. Yeah. So creosote is found in all the wheat and barley products because they're spraying it on them. And creosote gives you what? Cancer. Yeah. Terminate short, cut your life short. So just to say to ones and ones, just be aware and be cautious. You know, me kind of stop eating bread because me afraid.
Did you say stop eating bread? You stop eating bread?
Yeah, I don't eat the white bread, the white people and bread. I eat a little bit of hard-boiled bread every now and then, but I don't like the white thing. I don't like the white.
No bread, period. But that's another.
Yeah, for real. I'd rather fry two dumplings and put some cornmeal in it.
I'm just happy I can get seeds from you, and I'm happy to share seeds. I mean, I'm growing it in my own place, so, and it's all organic and wonderful. I'm not far from Emerson College.
Okay.
The teachings on stuff, so I will be in touch with you.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There's a question about where do you get the green bananas from?
Where you get the green bananas from? The tree.
No.
No. Green bananas basically are coming in from Uganda. I don't import personally. I get most of my produce from Blue Mountain, and they import from the Caribbean and import from different places in Africa as well as South America. Okay. So whether it's green banana or just green matoke, it's usually coming from Uganda or Ecuador. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other question? All right. So we need the address for the allotment in the group. Just type it into the group.
Yes, I will get that to Jean so she can add it in the group.
Okay. And also a reminder to others that put your email contact in the group so we can be in touch with you and keep this live and rising.
Yeah. Okay. I've put the email. I put the email and telephone number contact within the group. I believe Jean pointed to fill something in. So yes, that's done. But I would like to say that if anybody is interested, you know, in the aspects of growing, or as the sister just said, seed swapping, yeah, just let me know. Let me know what you need, and I'll sort my seeds and put a portion aside for whoever.
One more question. You know, so in terms of your delivery, do you deliver to homes? Where do you deliver? How far do you go?
I basically deliver anywhere.
Okay.
Delivery is charged at £1 a mile. So I mean, local folks, you know, 1 mile, 2 miles, delivery can only be like £2, £1.60. Okay. I got a call from somebody in Manchester the other day.
Yeah.
So I said, "Why Manchester? You too far?" No, everybody talked to me. Manchester, miles. So the brother said, "Can you post it to me?" And I thought, okay, I didn't think about that. So I'm going to have to start thinking about, for those that are out of driving reach, find a way to package their product and send it to them, either personal, that they get it just as possible. I pack it.
Okay.
So it's something that I'm looking into at the moment.
Thanks. Was that your question, Merlee?
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Get out of my head.
Okay, Brother Prince, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd just like to give a shout out to ones and ones out there. I don't know if Sister Pauline's out there listening. I like to say shout out to Sister Pauline. I like to shout out to anybody else who's been supporting Ras Prince and Seeds of Fruit. I appreciate you. You're keeping me real.
Go on, keep talking. Keep talking. Keep talking. Keep talking.
I'd like to thank you all very much for the support, and let's involve your friends. Let me grow this business that I can serve the community and employ some people from the community to help me build this thing.
Okay.
Yeah? Thank you very much.
One love. Thank you.
Peace and love, brother.
Thank you.
Irises.
Okay. Thank you, Ras Prince.
Yeah.
That was very informative.
Is Prince going to be around for questions later?
Oh, she's He went to a meeting. He said he's trying to come back.
Okay. Right,
Sorry.
thank you, group. I'm leaving now.
You won't be around for questions later then at 9:30.
All right, I'll sit down then.
Yes, he will.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to look at the screen yet, so I'm looking to see if our next presenter is there. Have you can you confirm? Can you confirm, Royston?
I don't know. I don't know what
Is that Sister Kandake?
yeah.
No, I haven't seen her on.
Okay. All right. So, anybody got any questions while I just give a quick call?
Okay. So, any questions to Ras Prince, Merlee, or Sister Juney? You can ask them.
I'd like to make a little comment, if that's okay, about the digestive system. I was brought up in an African household, an Igbo man, and for us, it's a violation of divine law to eat animal flesh. This is because the animals play a very important part in the ecosystem, and by not eating them, we get many blessings, and that includes health. Another quick commentary is about, I know this is a tricky subject, but toilet roll. I don't actually use toilet roll. I was brought up in a household where we found it better to use a flannel and soap to clean ourselves. And by doing this, we again help the ecosystem because toilet roll is unnecessary and we chop down trees, and it's again violation of divine law to actually do that kind of action. And finally, on the video you played about Nigeria, you mentioned a guy called Digoti, and he doesn't bank with black banks. He banks with white banks, and he is not a black conscious man. That's all I've got to say about that, because it's too much to go into right now, but I have to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is David. Greetings to all.
Thank you. Any other?
I wanted to ask Ras Prince about the herbs that he grows and the benefit to health of some of these. I remember having a conversation with him not too long ago, and he was full of information, very useful information. And I just wondered, in the time while we're trying to get in touch with the next speaker, whether he'd like to make a comment on the different herbs that he grows and the benefits.
1 sec.
Hi. What was that question?
It was to do with the herbs that you grow.
Yeah.
And the various benefits that's available from them. I remember having a conversation with you.
Yeah. What herbs specifically are you in reference to?
Well, the organic herbs that you grow.
Oh, well, I grow sage.
On your allotment.
I grow sage out there. I grow...
and the relationship to health, in terms of the benefits that you
I can't break down the doctor's aspect of the benefit of all the herbs. Don't get me wrong. When you catch me on the spot and I'm juggling stuff, I am armed with information. But you're asking me to kind of go into what Kandake would do. Kandake is kind of she specializes in the benefit of herbs. So I'm not going to try and pretend that I'm a doctor who knows all the benefits are. I just know I grow these herbs because you do get a health benefit from them. Yeah, whether you're using your sage for smudging, or whether you're using your sage to make a cup of tea, whether you're using your herbs to season your food, or even to boil a fresh. Yeah, because I've been putting sage in my bath and I've been feeling very lifted from adding sage to my bath water, and I smell like heaven for her. I'm not lying. Yeah. Yeah, so there's quite a lot of different herbs, and there are wild herbs as well. When I say wild herbs, I'm talking about things that one would perceive as weeds, dandelions, stinging nettles, borage. Yeah, all of these things do have medicinal benefits. Borage, for instance, I think they use the water from borage to make eye drops. Yeah, so everything has a use. Everything has its use within one's personal hygiene, spiritual makeup, and foodage. I think that was it. Does that help you?
Yeah, it does help, and perhaps you'd be perhaps we could invite you back when you can actually do a special presentation on the various herbs, because I think you've got a lot of information, lots of useful information that can be shared with.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I don't realise I'm sitting down in front of the camera.
I know. Just say yes. We have to introduce you to technology. You're all right.
Fucking up at me. I'm at home in the garden with my bucket and my
yeah.
walking around my welly boots and turfing dirt around.
Okay.
Just something else.
I think they call you the organic farmer.
They do. The organic farmer, man. That's one of many names, one of many nicknames. Who is that?
Yeah.
I just saw Brian in the picture.
All right. So a question to Merlee. You touched a bit earlier about the digestive enzymes, saying it was important for us. Can you say a bit more about that? And, you know, how can we use it? When can we use it? What frequency? Thanks.
We couldn't live, the body would not function without enzymes. And after the age of 27, we actually stopped making enzymes. So we do need to replace those enzymes in the food. If you're on a plant-based diet, then you've got more enzymes going on in your body than somebody that eats cooked food. Now, the enzymes for cooked food are different from systemic enzymes that you take away from food. So it's important to know the difference, that there are enzymes that will break down lactose, that will break down fats, that will break down proteins in the body. And those you take with food. You've got pancreatic enzymes that help to support the pancreas when we eat. And then you've got enzymes that you take at night before going to bed so that it can work while you're sleeping, and they will detect proteins in the body that's not of the body. So for instance, we use Sera enzymes here a lot with patients that are presenting with certain tumors and so on, because it will literally work away at eating away at that tissue that is not of its own. And it is proven to do so. So you might want to, all of you, look up Sera enzymes, and you, if you contact me, I can tell you where you can get it from. And that's the one that you take at night before going to bed. But the Terra enzyme is the one that you take with meals, 2 with each meal. And if you're going to eat a heavy protein meal, fish or whatever heavy protein, then you need to up the enzyme with that meal. Otherwise, the dead animal is going to stay in your stomach for at least 48 hours while your body's trying to break it down. And that's where we can get the bloating, the gas, and indeed, it's a hotbed for parasites, because if something has to be in your body that needs to rot before your body will evacuate it, then it's going to set up that kind of system. So when you take the enzymes, you'll realize that you will start to have more frequent, better bowel movements. So as you eat the stuff, you can clear the bin out. Does that help everybody, or is that?
And there was a question earlier in the group asking about, I think it was about the bloods, and where can you get some more information about the different blood types and its characteristics?
I do it here. People can have a consultation with me, and then once we've had the consultation, I send them 9 pages of the foods that are good for them and that works with their particular blood type. And it doesn't matter what kind of diet you're on, because some people that already know about this know that the O blood type, and I had the gentleman just speak a while ago about his African heritage and what they didn't do. Well, if you know about the O blood type, it would be suggested by Dr. Peter Diadamo, who brought the whole research in to view that the O's need more protein. But there are other ways to get protein other than eating an animal. But those who do, then, you know, we can discuss that as well. Or the ones that are plant-based and are O's, we can adapt it so that everybody gets what they need. Because sometimes what the O's tend to do, the ones that go plant-based, they forget about the protein that their body needs, and that you look at them and they really don't look well. They're weak, they haven't got the vitality because they're not getting enough protein. So just to understand, there is different ways of getting protein into the body, because you've got to balance everything in order to make it work. Right petrol, right oil and water mix.
There's another question in the group which says acid reflux can be caused by Helicobacter pylori.
Yes, by H. pylori.
Yeah. Do you have a comment on that?
Yes, I do. It's not H. pylori can trigger that mechanism of acid reflux, but acid reflux is really poor eating, poor digestion, lack of good bacteria, lack of enzymes, and eating too late before sleep, and people really literally not chewing. And so that valve that's supposed to seal and stop the acid coming back to the stomach, when people eat late and go to sleep and lie down, then that valve, if it's weak over time, especially if the person's a bit overweight, that valve becomes weak and opens up, and you get that bitterness in the night, like it comes up in the mouth and you want to throw up. And over time, it's called GERD. You don't want that to be happening too often, because the acid from the stomach is like battery acid, and it will burn the throat and can, over time, in some people cause esophageal cancer and stomach cancers and so on. So if you're getting acid reflux, look at that and work with a healthcare practitioner that can help you with better digestion so that you stop getting it. Or, as I said, the bicarb is excellent for that. If you take a little bicarb 2 hours before bed, that can help with that acidy stomach. Because sometimes your doctor will say to you, it's too much acid. It's not so much it's too much acid, it's just the way that you've eaten, and you've probably eaten and drink on top of everything. So everything's trying to digest and to do its thing at the same time. So something's got to give. So acid reflux is not healthy, very unhealthy to let that continue without help. Does that help anybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question.
There's
What
a question from Kiri.
Yes.
Apple cider vanilla.
Start your question again, please.
I'm talking about this vanilla apple cider.
Apple cider vinegar, yeah.
Yes, please. Because how helpful is it for our health?
All right. If you're an A blood group, apple cider vinegar is wonderful for you. If you're an O blood group, I would not do the apple cider vinegar thing, because it's just too much on your stomach. All right. I would stick to the recipe I gave you with the lemons, the lime, the turmeric for all blood types. Yes, that works. But for your A, the apple cider vinegar with a little bit of honey and warm water in the mornings is a really, really good way to start for you. Are you an A blood group, Nari? How do you say your name?
Nikiru.
Nikiru. What blood type are you?
A.
So which means you're natural vegetarian?
Yeah.
Natural plant-based. Oh, that didn't go down too well. You're a natural plant-based person, and stay away from pepper, because you have one of the most sensitive digestive systems of all of the blood types. So pepper and things like that is not great for you.
I know. I don't eat pepper.
Oh, good girl. And eat in quiet and silence. You need your digestion to work really, really well, because of all the blood types, you don't have the stomach acid to break down heavy proteins. So if you are a meat eater, be mindful, because eventually it can affect the pancreas and other organs.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jean, you had a question?
Yes, I did. I missed what you said about the negative blood type.
The which one?
Negative.
I didn't say about negative. I said there's 4 negative blood type. I said A blood type.
Okay, but nothing about negative.
Well, you've got the negative and the positive, but I'm just go by the antigen of the blood. So it's either O, A, B, A. So it doesn't matter whether you're a O positive or O negative, unless we do the saliva to find out if you're a secretor or a non-secretor. And that's a whole other thing that we can go into to find out specifically what foods trigger you. Here at Beechcroft, we actually do food sensitivity testing, because even though the book says there are blah, 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 everybody is an individual. So when we take your blood and send it off to the lab, we find that some foods come back that actually the person's okay with. So I think it's important that if you're going to do this thing fully, consider doing the food sensitivity test. We test over 200 foods. So take a little bit of your blood and send it off to the lab and see what's going on for you.
Okay. And the question also about, you said you've got missing teeth.
Yeah, really important.
How does it affect you?
It affects you because you need all of your teeth so that when you chew and chew down, you're stimulating the meridian, that the organ points that the teeth are on. A lot of people, back teeth are missing, or they've got mercury fillings in their teeth, and they don't think their mouth or their teeth is that important. It's just somewhere where things go in, they chew, and it is what it is. But your mouth is so important, because mouth health is stomach health. And some people that have GERD, which is the acid reflux, we find always when we check, they've got teeth missing. So they can't chew properly. So they're doing what we call the West Indian cut and swallow.
Yeah.
So the food never really gets to break up with the saliva, because they have no teeth at the back to make that happen.
Right.
So your teeth are really important. And that's why here, all of our patients or clients, we check the toothbrush when they arrive, and we get them on the Emident system, where you don't actually brush, you don't abrase your teeth. You hold it to the gum point, and in 7 seconds it beeps, and you move it along and you clean your teeth. When I went to the dentist said to me, Merlee, you've not been here for 5 years. I cannot, your teeth are absolutely, and I've got all of my teeth, and I'm an old lady, Royston will tell you, I don't have problems with my teeth, because that's the #1 thing for me. People overbrush, and then their gum lines go back, bacteria goes into the gum line, and then they're setting themselves up for problems. Sorry.
Okay, there are a couple of questions. Somebody's asking the question about, I believe that there's potentially parasites in apple cider vinegar. So
the Magrella. They're talking about the Magrella that they think is inside of vinegar. The cider vinegar comes with what we call the mother in it. And there was some things going around on WhatsApp and so on, and somebody said they had it. It is a bacteria, but it's a good bacteria within the vinegar. And we always try to get the vinegar that has the mother in. You don't have to go down to the bottom of it when you've got just carry on taking the vinegar from the top, and don't shake it up and leave that at the bottom, because it is beneficial. I know some people think it's Magrella, but it isn't. It's not a parasite. It is part of the vinegar.
Okay. And the other question was about where to get Sarah
enzymes. They will contact me, because it's a practitioner-based product. And yes, you can go online and you'll see it all over, but I use a particular company for practitioners. If you contact me, I'll give you the details and the ID number so you can order.
Okay.
Okay, just a quick question. What's the female? You've mentioned the female in the apple cider.
It's called the mother.
Mother, sorry.
So you buy the apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. It's supposed to be the best one. I mean, you've got Bragg's, I would say if you're buying apple cider vinegar, buy it in glass bottles.
Right.
Yes, try and get your vinegar, anything like that, in glass bottles.
Right. Okay.
And remember, if you're an O blood group, be mindful how much apple cider vinegar you are drinking, because you've already got quite a more of an acidic system, more than the other blood types. That's why you can more of a meat eater, whereas the A's can handle the apple cider. The O's have to be a bit mindful.
Mm-hmm.
with that, with aloe vera. And the O's naturally have a thinner blood as well. And aloe vera will thin the blood. All your oils, all your good fish oils, that can thin the blood as well. So just know if you're taking as vitamin C will thin the blood. So just know what you're taking and take it in proportion, and don't overtake, because you need your blood to be able to clot. If you had an accident, you can't have blood that's just going to be running off. So we have to be mindful not to over thin the blood when you naturally are thin already. That is why, you know, as an ex-nurse, and I would see them give the O blood types aspirin and things to thin the blood. If they could do it nutritional wise, it would be better, because over time the aspirin causes problem with the stomach as well, because your O's are more susceptible to duodenum ulcers and perforation of the bowel, in the sense of the thinness of the blood. So you have to be mindful and understand, you know, your particular type. Research it, look into it. Don't just take what I'm saying, but it's important to not over thin the blood.
Thank you very much.
And by the way, I want to say something very quickly about vitamin D, because it's been a lot been talking about the whole vitamin D thing. Yes, of course we need D3, especially as Black people. We need it like we need water, right? But if you're going to take D3, you must take it with K2, because without K2, you're not going to get the calcium where it needs to go. It goes into the tissue, and then people wonder why they end up with knee pain or joint pains and they don't feel so good. You've got to drive the vitamin where it needs to go. So K2 is the driver. Look that up, all of you.
What's K2?
K2 is a supplement that helps with the D3 to be more absorbable in the body. Yes. Every supplement really has its driver, and you need to know what that is. And so people just saying, you go to the doctor and they say they give you vitamin D, which is normally calcium carbonate, which is chalk. So you need to be mindful, spend a bit of money, go to a healthcare practitioner and get proper stuff. You don't want to just go to your doctor because it's free, that's what you're taking, and then wonder why your knee hurts, your joints hurt, because it's actually going into the tissue and causing calcification in other parts of the body. So all of you, please look up K2. It's an amazing, one of the amazing minerals. And of course, magnesium. For those of you who can't sleep or have restless legs, restless nights, number one, unplug all your things out your bedroom. Your bedroom should not have anything electrical buzzing around. Turn off your Wi-Fi at night. Get yourself some shungite, put around the house, so that way you can be in a safer environment. All of you who have your phones, all of you, your phones should have protection on the back of your phones to stop your frying your brain with your phone. So there's lots of little things that it's more than just drinking green juices. You need to understand environmentally we are being attacked at the moment. And I don't want to go too much into that because I'm sure some of you have seen enough stuff about the whole G5 stuff. But do look into the uses of shungite, wear it. So, you know, even if you can't afford to get it in the house, at least wear it so that when you're out and about, you are protected.
Hi, thank you very much, Merlee. You've done us wonders because answering the questions has helped Sister Kandake to get herself sorted. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Excellent, thanks, Merlee.
You're welcome, guys.
Why must it be like this? Come here.
Sorry, could everybody mute their mics now, please? And make sure you have your pen and your paper for your questions for after the presentation. And now I'm going to introduce our sister, Kandake, who is a BSc with her honours, and she's a medical herbalist, holistic healer, she's a spiritual teacher, and she's going to be talking about holistic health and herbs. Sister Kandake, the screen is now yours.
Greetings, give thanks. Greetings to everyone there and to all the speakers. I had a bit of technical problems, I don't know what was happening there, but give thanks I'm able to be here with you this evening, and give thanks for the work that you're doing Auntie Jane. I think during this time, but even before I say that, before I am even going to say the first thing, let me acknowledge the world of the divine, and let me acknowledge our ancestors, those whose shoulders we stand on and who paved the way for us to be here now. To be here now in this time of great change, of new beginnings. As Auntie Jean said, yes, I do hold a BSc, and I put that forward because the world that we knew at large generally respects that. But the teachings that, you know, I travel with, you know, came from years of living, what we call farai, living a natural way of life. And we give thanks that the world is beginning, many people are beginning to see the reality of the let's say the intelligence of nature. Because being part of nature, all of us, all human beings on this planet are subject to that intelligence. And that being the case, we cannot go beyond it. Yet man's arrogance has led him to believe, and her to believe, that they are beyond nature. And so they've built a world which is meant to exalt themselves. Yet not one of us can go to bed or go through the day and are consciously keeping our heart beating. Not one of us consciously keeps the respiratory system working. Not consciously does one of us send that food around our body and enter into each cell. The most we do as a human being, we can do for ourselves, is to take the right foods and put into our body. After that, we have nothing to do with what happens. Those things are carried out by higher intelligences. So we being subjected to a higher intelligence, the order runs whether we decide to live by it or not. And if for longevity, if for health, it requires a certain thing, then you have the choice as a human being not to partake in that thing. But there will be consequences. And so because the human body is made from the earth, the human body is a living intelligence, but it's beyond our intelligence. Because like I say, we don't keep this structure functioning. We came here and we saw everything in place. So our ancestors understood that, and they looked into the nature, they looked into what was here, and they saw how to fit within the nature. And as they continued to learn from that higher intelligence, because all sciences come from the nature, there's not one science that isn't a study of the nature. So the nature is the supreme for us, we're just a part of that. And as they learned to, as they studied the nature, and as they approached the nature, it opened, because it's an intelligence, it opened, because anything that you do, it's how you approach it. It's how you ask the questions. It's the questions that you ask will give you the answers. So the European form of science is science, but it's the questions that they ask, and they call it a hypothesis. You have an hypothesis and you answer, but so did our ancestors ask the questions. and we received answers. So I say that to say this: when we're talking about holistic health, we're talking first of the order under which we fall. We're talking first of the order that is in place. And then there is the aspect of the spiritual as well as the physical, the emotional and the psychological, those different levels on which the human being operates on. So, holistic health. The first thing that a child does is breathe when it comes out of its mother's womb. It takes its first breath and then clap the poor baby pan him bottom and make him bath. But it breathes. So using simple logic, one of the first things that connect us to this space, because that's the last thing that goes when we leave this space, is the breath. So that is one of the first things that I would say when we're talking about holistic, that we tune into the breath. And for those who, so I did introduce myself, and Auntie Jean said the degree part, and I said the Rastafari part, but I'm also an initiate with the Dogon School of Kemetic Philosophy and Spirituality. And so some of what I bring comes from our ancient tradition, that which we lost along the way. So, and in the tradition, the breath, you can use Shu is what it's, you would refer that to, that deity that's known as Shu, can also go into that next dimension. That's the one that can go into that next dimension and come back. So being in tune with oneself first, using the breath to help to re-electrify that spiritual body that we have. It's that connection with the other dimension. So the breath is one of the first things that I would say that we have to look into, even before we go to nutrition, because we can live for days and weeks without nutrition. We ain't gonna get very far without the breath. That would be the first thing that I would speak about. Sitting at least when you wake in the morning and just going within the self, because within the self is that inner intelligence, that higher intelligence. It's within the self. And the breath helps to transcend. And there are levels. And when one is able to use the breath to transcend to those levels, then there are communications that can be had. That is up to the individual human being, how far they want to take it. They may just want to steady their mind and get back with the daily things that they do on earth, and that is fine too. So that's the breath. Then, and I caught a little bit of what the sister was saying before around the nutrition. And here is where I would acknowledge my Rastafari brothers and sisters, and I always acknowledge them, because I grew in a typical Jamaican home, and we yam and banana and dumpling and thing, but we also had our meats and so forth. And it was Rastafari that I first heard tell me about the plants, about nutrition, and that was over 30 odd years ago. And they told us that there was a way to live that was in tune with nature. And part of that was eating the natural foods, which was the plants, but not just eating the plants, but returning to the earth, planting, growing food, which they now call organic, which then times I and I call Ital. I say that to say this, the whole idea about this natural living that's coming up and this holistic, you know, we've had a body of people that have been living it for many years. So if you go to a true Rasta woman or Rasta man, they're not gonna say, well, that's how we live. That's natural. But we give thanks the world is opening the eyes and becoming aware of it. And then through the European science, we understand about the carbohydrates and the proteins, and they gave them these kinds of words. They gave them words. And then broke it down to smaller levels, which we call TEM. So in the traditions, you have Ra. Ra is the one that encompasses everything. But Tem, which is where you get the word atom or atom from, Tem is the smallest thing, but Tem is in everything. So they have a thing where Ra says, I am the greatest, and I'm the greatest of all. And Tem says, and because everything is in me. And Tem says, yeah, but I'm the greatest too, because I am in everything. Everything is interconnected. And so that's the nutrition. And this is the third one, I think I'll stop there. There are many other aspects, but I'll stop there. Then we look at the science of the herbs. And when we're talking about herbs now, it's a specialized knowledge. It's going that one step further than nutrition. And we look at the herbs not just to feed this living temple in which the spirit resides, but to activate, to heal, to reach the mind if necessary, the emotions if necessary, and to repair. So the herbs are there, and to get rid of viruses, right? And to build up the immune system, right? So we then use the herbs to add on to the nutrition and help the healing process. And the healing process is on many levels, like we said, the physical, the emotional, the psychological, and we use the herbs spiritually as well. I think I won't go much further. We can talk other aspects of holistic health, but I will give people maybe a chance to maybe ask, and then I can bring, because sometimes just to give you an overview, and then maybe if you wanted to ask questions. So I have been in private healthcare as a holistic practitioner and a medical herbalist for the last 11 years. I do work in a clinical setting alongside GPs, clinicians, specialists, endocrinologists, diabetic specialists, a gynecologist. I've worked in that setting. So I do see clients, I have consultations. And during this time, I've been doing a lot of work with giving herbs to people specifically for COVID. So I've given herbs to people who's had COVID and given preventative, during this time. And I also have an ebook that I put out. So those who wanted to use the herbs for themselves, they can do that. So I think what I'll do, I'll stop there. And if anybody wants to ask any questions, then we can get more specific. I just kind of gave an overview. So, okay, Auntie Jean?
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you. So anybody got any questions? Any questions? Anybody unmute yourself to ask a question? Okay, Sister Kandake, can you tell us a bit more about your ebook? Is it an ebook of herbs?
Yes. So you can, if you want to access it, it's www.kandake.digital. But there is also that takes, sorry?
Slower. A little bit slower.
Sorry. Okay. www.kandake.digital. So that will give you some information on the coronavirus. It also looks at herbs that can be used for building the immune system, for anxiety. So I've included herbs like that because the human body has several systems in it. And if you're looking at the physical systems, there's 11 systems. So although the immune system is affected, the immune system is affected by the nervous system, because through your thoughts, then your brain picks that up, and then depending on how you see a situation will depend on the pathway, the biological pathway that will take place in your body, and that's called the stress response. And there are structures in the brain, the hypothalamus being one of them, the pituitary being another, and then the adrenal glands, which sit above the kidneys, are the other set that is involved in this, what we call the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary axis. And I say that because the herbs that we use as nervines help to relax that system, because that system is connected to the immune system. So if you are stressed and it's that system that's implicated, they call it the fight or flight, that suppresses your immune system. And all that human beings on this planet have been exposed to at this time has left people fearful, have left them anxious, so many things. So not only do I look at herbs to boost the immune system and look at nutrition as well, also herbs that can help to just calm that system. So like we said, we use herbs especially for different things. So as a clinician, as a herbalist practitioner, so we can prescribe like a doctor, we can legally do that. We have all the professional indemnity and so forth. And as a clinician, in that regard, we have to look at the whole human being, and we can use herbs to specifically target systems if necessary, or target the overall well-being. So we also have things like the liver. People talk about detox in the liver because that's such a major organ that carries out serious function in the body. And so yes, that's an aspect. The digestive system is an aspect. The urinary system is an aspect, and we'll have herbs that will look at that. But then we have to look at the whole human being, because it can be emotional. And a lot of the time, so I know you asked about the herbs in the book, kind of just going to another level here, because I think it's important. A lot of the times when we have a physiological illness, there's an emotional or a psychological component to it. In fact, most time it starts in that realm and then manifests in the physical realm.
Yes, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I've got several questions, but if somebody's taking...
Is that my brother Supreme I'm hearing there?
Yeah.
How you doing, Supreme?
Go ahead with your question. Hello?
Supreme, go ahead, my brother.
Is he gone?
Okay. So maybe...
Hi, could I ask a question?
Yes, go
Sure.
ahead.
I mean, I think herbs are very important, but I think one of the problems that we have in this age, and which is a manifestation, which acts as a manifestation of many of the illnesses that that we see amongst us today, is that we're not actually in touch with our spirit. Because if you examine most important spiritual scripts, you'll find that they say for instance Jesus had the power to even make a blind man see. Now we know that's an allegorical statement, but what it's actually talking about is the power within our spirit to heal ourselves. And I suggest that we need to do more study in spiritual science to understand what is the true source of psychological, emotional, but it's spiritual. That's what I've got to say, really. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hi.
Can I just say something to the brother?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. But like when I started the conversation with the breath, when you go to the breath only takes you back into yourself. And once you climb the heights within yourself, that's where you're going to find the knowledge. Then when you need to have your teacher outside, that teacher will come, because you are then operating on other dimensions, Because just like you do not control your blood moving through your body, your heart beating, you don't control that. When you move on to the higher level, there's higher entities at work. So when you need something else, then they will bring that to you, or you will go to it. But that doesn't start outside, it starts within. Especially now when you reach a certain age. So it's not so much of looking for spirituality outside of self as to getting to know oneself. That's what I would say. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe I didn't make myself clear. I mean, you know, I practice meditation and I meditate for 2 or 3 hours a day sometimes. So I agree with you. It's about going within yourself to get in touch. Man, know thyself, which was an ancient Kemet statement, as we all know ourselves. And, you know, we can learn from each other, but the greatest teacher is ourselves, I suggest.
So there was a Sister Juney spoke earlier on, and a couple of things that she touched on was the impact of, there's a lot of fear going on right now, and grief that exists in our community, as we hear of different ones that are gone. Are there any particular herbs you'd recommend to support the system at this particular time?
Okay, so the first one of fear, I would say that the person has to get clear, what is it that they fear? So as a herbalist, I'm not just a herbalist. Sometimes, many times when I see people in clinic, I don't even give them herbs, because that's not the first thing. It's addressing where the issue is. What is the fear? Because there is a lot of fear, but different people are fearing different things. What is the fear? Then, so it's first of all looking at, what is it I fear? Because some people might fear not being able to get a job again. Some people might fear having to get the vaccine. Some people might fear whatever. What is your fear? And then look at the rationale of that. Now, if it is that, okay, so let's say it's the vaccine. Say it's getting the vaccine. Then the reality is, say it's even gonna come in. Then what that individual has to make a decision on is, am I gonna stand up and not take the vaccine and then understand what the consequences are gonna be? Or am I gonna, because I'm gonna want to do whatever I want to do, take the vaccine? What that requires is a different kind of approach. If it's just general fear, again, you can give herbs, but it doesn't address what's going on in the psyche of the person. So it's like, you know, you go to the doctor and they give you tablets. That's not how we operate. What is it that's going on? So maybe the person has to take control of their own thoughts. Maybe they never believed that this system would have do them so. Until it do them so. So now they have to come to terms with the reality, because reality we deal with all the way. So that's what I'm saying. So, but generally for the nervous system, there's a really good one, which is a gentle one, that I would say something like Avena sativa, which is oats. But you have the oats that you eat, but Avena sativa is a very gentle, mild one. And that's where I would start with most people. But depending on where the person is, then you may give them a slightly, you can give them a higher or lower dosage, but also you might give them a different herb that might relax them more or relax them less. But vervain is another one. Vervain, Avena sativa, those are very good for the nervous system. And when we talk about the nervous system, we're talking about the brain right through to the body, because of course the nervous system runs all the way through. So those are good nervines to incorporate, but the person has to deal with self.
Beautiful. Hi.
Thank you.
What about our sort of DNA? Is it possible that your thought patterns can change your actual DNA on a daily basis?
Is it possible that your thought patterns can change your DNA?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So I don't go on the front line, and I don't carry out these experiments myself, but through the research and through going through university and the studies that I've been given, the epigenetics, so those parts of the DNA that are above the DNA. So epi means above, yeah? So you may be familiar with that because maybe that's why you've asked the question. So not necessarily change the fundamentals of your DNA that have been passed down from generation to generation, but the ability to activate or deactivate it, make it function or not make it function. Yes, you have the ability to do that. And you can look at a comparison that through spiritual teaching. So that's through epigenetics and the field of science that we have here, but it's said in another way. So you may look at it as like the sins of the father carry on to the children, or curses may run through families, or, you know, what you do today, it might not come on you, it might come on your children. This is all ways of saying that what you do today travels into the future. Even in the field of epigenetics, you know, they found out the time when someone is most susceptible to the gene change is not even in the human themselves. It's when, like, for example, the boy is at puberty, when the testes are just coming and he's just coming into a man, when in the girls, when the ovaries, when the eggs are really developing. It's at that time, if that person has been affected either positively or negatively, what they, through their science, understand is that it's at that time that those genes actually can be affected in those unborn children, because remember, they're carrying that DNA in that egg, in that sperm. So at the teenage years of puberty, trauma, anything like that can actually affect. So it's not when they're big people, it's when they're going through their development stage. So yes, it can affect you, but we know that even through our everyday living, you know, and again, even in holistic health, we understand that, because like I said, it's not the physical aspect always is the problem. There is something usually emotional or psychological that happens, and then something manifests in the physical.
Greetings.
One more question, please.
Paul.
I have a question.
Paul.
Paul.
Go on, Shaneri.
Greetings, Kandake.
Greetings, my sister. Is that Chi?
Yes, and we'll be winding up after this.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Please. Thank you.
Kandake, you were talking about facing yourself. So it's not just about being fearful, it's facing your fears. Is there a herb that people can take that will help them to be calm enough to be able to check in with themselves and face their fears? Because if you're so wound up, it's a difficult thing to do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so like I said, those herbs there, that's why if you remember when Rasta used to smoke, Rasta smoked herb. Marijuana is a nervine. It acts on the nervous system. And so it brings one to a place where one can detach from the problem, look at it objectively, then go back in and deal with it. Okay. Yeah. So, depending on the person and the type of fear that they're facing, because this is a world issue, but and I'm going to come back to the fear. We were told that this was coming in many ways, whether you want to say through the Bible, even through the initiatic temples. That's why the teachings came out, because they saw where the world was at through Rasta, until he said, I'm going to microchip, I'm going to do this. So it was out there. People chose not to believe that. So for some people, this isn't a surprise. They knew it was coming. So how do you deal with someone? You can give herbs. Yes, you can give herbs to calm the immune system. But if the person is in a state of mind where they don't want to deal with reality. It's like bad mind, you know, and I heard to cure that. So, so yes, you can calm the person down, but the person then has to look at reality and then see, okay, this is it. How do I deal with it? So yes, you can use those herbs. You can use, like we said, the valerian is another herb. It can be a bit heavy, so we kind of might use that more for sleep. But if you use smaller dosages, you can. That's why I go more for the Avena, because those ones, and the Vervain, those ones, while you're moving around during the day, they're good. Herbs like rose are good for the heart. It can settle the heart, you know, especially around grief, because somebody mentioned about people dying. And can I just say, you don't mind, Auntie Jean, because I'm going to be doing a webinar tomorrow, and we're going to be looking at emotion and psychology, and we're going to cover grief. We have a sister Sister Julia is going to cover, she's a psychodynamic therapist, dealing specifically with grief, you know, and how people are managing grief at this time. So, there's so many aspects to it. Sister Chi, I hope that kind of answered.
Okay.
Okay, so Sister Shaz wants a quick question. She's been asking for a little while now. So Sister Shaz, quickly.
It's got to be very short.
Yes. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Thank you.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to ask about herbs, where one herb doesn't do the trick, and using two together so that one complements the other. I want an opinion about that, because that's what I do. I've been studying herbal medicine, and I've been looking at a remedy for migraine, and I found that feverfew on its own doesn't work, but it works very well with chamomile. I just wondered about the balancing, about what your opinion is of me doing that.
That's fine. I mean, like, if I'm putting a prescription together, I might have 7, 8, 9 herbs. It just depends on what's needed for that person. So if you found that feverfew, yes, that is one you use for headaches. And if you find it works with the chamomile, then you know that then use that. You might find another herb that will go with that. But also with headaches, we know that depending on what kind of headaches it is, might be also connected to hormonal. So that might be an issue that may have to be looked at, because, you know, in the traditions, for example, they say if you've got a pain, they don't get rid of the pain. What they do, they leave the pain, look for the underlying issue, because once they've dealt with that, the pain will go. So, so because you said migraine, yes, you're giving something to stop the pain, but what is going on? Because anytime the body does that, it's speaking, it's saying something. So, it can be many things, you know, migraines can be many things.
Okay.
But that's good. That's good. Yes, use your 2 herbs, 3 herbs. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we do that.
Thank you, Sister Kandake. I'm just going to put up the contact information again while Auntie Jean closes our session.
Thank you very much, Sister Kandake. That was absolutely brilliant, on point as usual. And tomorrow, if you want to say quickly tomorrow where people can find you, I believe it's 12 o'clock, isn't it? 12 o'clock on your webinar?
Yes, but I don't know how to give out the webinar handle, but you can, if you email me at instrumentalhealth.com, then I can send you the detail, or if you want to give me a call, 079-497-13639, I can send you the flyer, because it's just a long URL.
So just take a picture of this screen. All the contact information is there for all the speakers.
Excellent.
It's all accurate information.
Thank you, Juney Mohammed. I know that she's gone now, but she did a brilliant presentation. Merlee Harris, thank you very much. And thank you as well for filling in as well. Ras Prince is also gone. I thank Ras Prince as well. So his details are there if you want to have any deliveries, if you want to help out with, well, the allotment, learn how to plant, grow and produce and harvest. And also, last but not least, our sister, our very own Sister Kandake. I'll be looking forward to seeing you tomorrow as well at the next webinar. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for your time. I hope that it was all useful for you and you're going to get some things and information that you can take and use to keep yourselves well. Thank you, Royston. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Ray. And thank you. We'll see you all next week. Same time, same place.
Yeah. Bye all. Go well.
Bye.